Hello makers and welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial we'll be making this turtleneck color block sweater, which is available in 9 different sizes, so be sure to find the free link to the pattern in the description box below. As for the materials that are required to make this sweater, they're also linked down in the description box below. So before we go any further, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, as it really does help my small channel, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Now let's get into the tutorial. So this is what the 60 rows should look like after you're done. And now what we're gonna do is do a chain up of 1, and then we're gonna go through the sides of the slip stitches, placing 1 single crochet in each stitch, in each row. So at the end of the row you want to have 60 single crochets. So this was the last row that I just worked, and we're gonna have a single crochet in there, and then the next one will be on this ribbed row, and the next one will be in between the ridge, and then on the ribbed row, and then in between the ridge, and so on. At the end of the row you should have a total of 60 single crochets. After we're done doing that, we're gonna close it and sew close this side right here, and then we'll put it aside and we'll get started on the body. So let me just do that and I'll meet you right back so that we can get started on the body together. So this is what it looks like. We're done working our collar. Here's our single crochets, and this is where I seamed everything off. That we'll weave that in at the end, but at the end this is what your collar should look like. It will be a little tight around the opening, so you're gonna have to stretch it out a bit, and the space is big enough for your head to fit through, and as you know, the slip stitch tends to stretch a lot. So now you're just going to put this aside and we will get started on the body. So for size small, we're going to be doing a chain up of 61. So you go on, make your chain of 61, and I will meet you after you're done. So I've just finished making my chain of 61. Now into the second chain from the hook into the back bumps only, we're going to go in with a single crochet, and we're going to place single crochets into the first 10. And that's 10. So now let me just grab my stitch marker and place it in there so that I don't get mixed up on my way back down. Alright, so from here on, still in the back bumps, we'll be going in with a half double slip stitch, yarning over, inserting that hook into the slip stitching through, just like that. So I'm going to continue doing this all the way up until the very last chain, where we'll be doing an increase right in there. So I will meet you there so that I can show you how we do that increase, so that we can do the increase together. So I've worked my way up and I am about to work into the very last bump, which is this one right here, where we will be placing our increase. So we'll place 1 half double slip stitch, and then right into the very same chain we'll also place another half double slip stitch, just like that. And then to begin our second row, where we will also have to make another increase, we will do a chain up of 2 in turn. This is how we'll be doing our increases as we're going down, so take note. Into the second chain from the loop, you're gonna go in there with a half double slip stitch, There we go. And then into the back bumps only from here on, we'll be placing a half double slip stitch in order to get that knit look that we're going for. So you continue doing this, working your way downwards. And you lay it down like this. This is what it looks like so far. So we're going to continue with our half double slip stitches going down. Once you reach the stitch marker, you're going to switch to the single crochets in the back loops only. Chain 1 and turn, back loops only, single crochet, and then back to half double slip stitch. Remember to increase at the top. I am going to do an increase for a total of 19 rows for this size small. So you do whatever size that's required, and after I reach my 19th row, then I'll meet you right back so that we can start connecting to the collar together. Alright, so I have just placed the stitch markers where I've divided the back, front and sides where the arms will be. So between these two purple stitch markers, I have my 20 stitches. This is for size small. There's 20 stitches. This is where the front will be. And then between these two, there is 10 stitches. This is for one of the sleeves. And then back here, there's 20 stitches. This is where the back will be. And then on the other side, there's 10 stitches, which is for the other arm. So if I lay it down like this, it's arm, front, and back. Alright, so right about now, pause the video. Make sure you put your stitch markers where they should be. I am about to start connecting the body now to the collar. So I have worked up on my 19th row. And right about now, this is what it should be looking like, since we're doing increases. To get to the this stitch marker right here, let me turn it around. This is where I want the front to be, to get to this stitch marker. So now from here on, instead of chaining one, right here, we are going to connect to the purple stitch marker, the very first purple stitch marker. So I'm just going to remove it, making sure I don't lose it, and I will place my crochet hook and I will connect that row with a slip stitch. Okay, through and through, just like that. So that's the row done. Now to begin the next row, as we do usually, we'll locate the next single crochet, insert our hook with a slip stitch. Now that's going to act as a chain one, and then we'll going downwards, we'll continue with our half double slip stitches, back loops only, just like that. No increases, no decreases, we'll just be connecting as usual. And as we're going downwards, everything else is being worked the very same way. When we get to the stitch mark, I'll be switching to our single crochets, chain one, and then working back upwards. So let me just explain this again. After we go down, we're gonna come back up. When we come back up, we're gonna locate the next available single crochet on the collar, and that's where we'll be placing our slip stitch to join the row. And then to begin a new row, we'll slip stitch into the next available single crochet and work our way downwards. And we're gonna do that all the way until we get to the very last stitch marker. So I'm gonna work up to this stitch marker, and I'll meet you once we're there, so that we can now do the very opposite of what we did this side, which is now to decrease 19 rows. So pause the video, work your rows, and I'll meet you once I get to this stitch marker. So I have just worked the 19 normal rows. These were the 20 normal rows. There's 20 for the mid section, and there was 19 rows that we increased. So after the middle section, we now want to do the other section, which is now the 19 rows of decrease. So to get started on that, we're just going to do a chain up of one. We're not going to slip stitch into the other single crochet spots, because now this is for the sleeves. It's going to make sense when we get there. So I'm just going to do a chain up of one and turn. So since we were increasing on the other side, it means that this side now we're going to be doing decreases. To do a decrease, what do you do? Into that stitch right there, because this is the slip stitch that we did to connect to the single crochet, Into the first stitch, we're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, and then into the second one, insert our stitch, pull up a loop, and then we'll just slip stitch into all of them, just like that. And that's how we're going to be doing our decreases when it comes to the collar section. And when we get there, all that we're going to be doing is a chain up of 1 and decreasing, normal connecting to the collar, because now what we're trying to do is get a replica of the other side. And you want to do that, you want to decrease for the same number of rows that you increased. Refer to the written pattern to know your size, so that you know the number of rows that you need to increase and decrease. So after you're done, you want to do the very same thing we did to the other side. This is my second side because I've already completed my front side, and this is what your work should be looking like. These were the 19 rows of increases. There's 20 rows in between right here. It may not show because, you know, the slip stitch, but it does stretch. There's 20 rows in between, and then we did a decrease of 19 rows right here. And then turning it around, we're doing the very same thing for the other side. And in between these right here, these stitches that we have left, is where we're gonna do our sleeves. So finish off that side, finish off the decrease rows. After you've done with the decrease rows, you want to do the very same thing. Start again from chaining whatever number you need, increasing, connecting to the collar, work normal rows, and then decrease. Do the very same thing for the other side, and then you want to fold your work so that they're laying flat on top of each other, and you want to seam the sides closed so that the front and the back portion are sewn closed. Let me show you how you're going to do that. You're just gonna put the works together like this, the front panel and the back panel. Close it like this so the front and the back are laying next to each other, and then you're gonna start from these tips and you will sew them closed with your yarn needle, and you do the very same thing for the other side. And then I'll meet you so that we can now get started on the arm opening. So I have just finished seaming this part of the sweater, and now I'm about to get started on the sleeve, the armhole anyway. So to get started on the armhole, we want to go around placing single crochets so that we can make it easier for us to work the sleeve into. Alright, so you're going to connect your yarn at the tip, which is right there, of your sleeve, and then we're going to go around placing a single crochet in each and every row. So my first row was the ribbed row, so that will be 1 single crochet, then in between the ridges another single crochet, and then on top of that ridge or the ribbed row 1 single crochet, because all of that is going to count for 1 row, or a chain 1. So we'll be placing 1 single crochet in each spot. So I'm gonna go all the way around placing my single crochets, and then once we get back to where we started, we want to change now, grab the secondary color, which is the nude for me, or khaki for me. So let's just get to the collar section so that I can show you how you're going to work that area. Between and the ridges, and between. We're almost there. Alright, so when you hold your work like this, you'll be able to notice the single crochets right there, and what you're doing is you're just going to go on top of them, placing more rows of single crochet. So I'm just going to have to go into that last in between row, and then I'll get started on my single crochets. So it's going to be like the neck will have the arm, where the arms will be, it's going to be like they'll have 2 rows of single crochets, and that's absolutely fine. So you're just going to continue doing this all the way around until you get to this side where we started, and then I'll meet you there. You're going to do a chin up of 1 and cut so that we can connect our second color, and then I'll meet you once I get there. So I just finished going around placing my single crochets, and now we're about to get started on the sleeve. So right there at the corner, I'm just going to connect the yarn just like that with a slip stitch, and that should keep it nice and in place. Now we're going to make a chain long enough to make your sleeve. So you want to refer to the written pattern as to how many you need to chain for your size. So for size small and extra small, we'll be doing a chain of 61. So you just want to do that. Make a chain of 61, and after you're done making that chain, I will meet you right back. So you're going to make the chains a little bit looser, since we'll be working into the back bumps, not too loose, but loose enough for you to work into the back bumps properly without much struggles. So I'm just going to do my chain of 61, and I will meet you right back. So I just finished making my chain, and now we shall get started. So we will be skipping the first chain as usual, rather now into the second chain from the hook. Into the back bumps though, we'll go in with a slip stitch, and we will slip stitch into 10 stitches, 10 chains. This is to give our sleeve that little hold that we want. That should be number 8. Two more to go. And finally 10. So you want to grab your stitch marker right about now. Let me just grab mine and place it into that last stitch that we just made, so that we'll easily remember it as we're working back downwards. So from here on, it's as we've been doing, but let me just give you hints on this, on the collar. So remember, everybody should have an even number on the sleeve section that's left right here on the collar. So you're going to place a stitch marker in the middle. Like for me there's 10, so I'm going to place a stitch marker in the 5th, because from here on we're going to start increasing our way until we get to the stitch marker. From the stitch marker we will then start to decrease going downwards. So I'm going to work up, and I'll meet you right when I get to the last stitch, so I can show you how we increase and connect to the sleeve, and then I'll let you carry on by yourselves from there. So I have just reached the very last stitch, and I'm placing my first half double slip stitch, and into the very same stitch I will be going in with my second half double slip stitch as an increase. Now into where I have my stitch marker is where my first single crochet is, so just leave, there we go. I will be connecting that row with a slip stitch. Now to begin my new row, I will just slip stitch into the next available single crochet, just as we've been doing the whole time. Turn my work now into the first stitch, which is this one right here, because these two V's you see right here, these two are where we slip stitch to join the rows. So into the first stitch right here, I will be going in with my increase, so that's 2 half double slip stitches right in there, and just like that. Then I'll go on with my row as normal, remembering to switch to a slip stitch at the stitch marker down here. So you're gonna go on doing that, increasing at the top once you get here on your way up and down, at the top here only, all the way until you get to the stitch marker, and then I will meet you right there so that we can start on the decreasing together. So I have now reached where my stitch marker was, which is right in this stitch, which now means we have to start with the decrease row for the other half. So I'm just going to show you this row, how we do a decrease. You will just run over, allocate your first stitch, which is this one right here, insert your hook, pull up a loop. You won't finish, you will go into the next stitch after that. So now you've got 4 loops on your hook, and you would just slip stitch through everything, and that's how you do a decrease. So we're going to do that for the rest of the remaining single crochet stitches until our entire arm is closed. So I'm going to go on and I'll finish off this sleeve And right after I'm done with this sleeve, I'm going to move on to the other sleeve, and you want to do the very same thing. After you're done with this sleeve, do the very same for the other one, and then I'll meet you once our sweater is all complete. So this is what the sweater looks like. I've turned it the other way around, I've weaved in all the funny ends, and this is what we've got. So I hope you liked this tutorial. I hope it all made sense. I hope you loved making it as much as I did. And be sure to join our Facebook group so you can show us what your work looks like. And be sure to share it. Give this video a big thumbs up, as it really helps my small channel. We want to grow and get bigger so that other people can find our lovely tutorials. So until next time, I'm going to go off, start working on my next tutorial. Bye for now.